Well, I think we could probably get started now anyway. Good evening, everyone. My name is Samantha Vergara, and I'm with the City of Milpitas. And today we have a webinar on water-wise irrigation practices. This is hosted in partnership with Bosca, and our instructor today is going to be Frank Niccoli. And just before we get started, we're going to go over a few guidelines for participating in the class tonight. First and foremost, all attendees are going to be muted by default. This is just to decrease background noise during the talk. However, you will have an opportunity to ask any questions throughout the presentation. During the presentation, we will be stopping periodically to address questions that come up. And you can ask your question two ways. You can either use the raise hand feature in the little toolbar on your Zoom window, or and if you do that, I will go ahead and let you unmute yourself so you can verbally ask your question, or you can type out your question in the Q&A box if you prefer not to speak, and I'll read the question out loud, and then Frank can go ahead and address that. And if you miss out on any of the content tonight or you need to leave early, it's not a big deal. This webinar is going to be recorded and will be available for you to view later on. I would say it'd probably be available in about a week or so, and I will send out that link to the recording to all registered attendees, along with a list of some of the resources that are covered tonight. And before we get started, we'll just do a quick introduction of Bosca. Bosca stands for the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency, and they are a special district that represents 26 different agencies, which include cities, water districts, water companies, and a university. And all of these member agencies purchase water from the San Francisco Regional Water System. And the Bosca member agencies serve over 1.8 million people and over 40,000 businesses and organizations across Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo County. And Bosca's main goal is to provide a high quality supply of water at a fair price to its member agencies and their constituents. So in order to meet this goal, Bosca has several different water conservation programs, one of them focusing on landscape irrigation, water efficient landscape practices. This is because outdoor water use represents the single largest untapped opportunity for conservation within the Bosca service area. And in order to meet this goal, Bosca provides lots of resources to help businesses and residents reduce water use outdoors through the use of water efficient plants and water efficient irrigation practices, some of which you'll learn about tonight. And if this is something that interests you, please just note that Bosca has lots of different programs to help you meet that conservation goal. For example, they offer the Lawn Be Gone conversion program where you can get up to $4 per square foot for replacing a typical lawn with a drought tolerant garden that uses water efficient plants and natives. You can also save some money by installing a rain barrel so you can catch rainwater to use instead of your sprinklers if you hand water your plants. Additionally, there's also rebates for things like smart irrigation controllers. So you can kind of stay on top of your irrigation schedule and monitor it that way. And there's also rebates for installing rain gardens, which are really great for conserving water as well as collecting stormwater to prevent water pollution. If you live in Milpitas, we do have very similar programs. However, some of the rebate rates are a little bit different. And we do offer these rebates in partnership with Valley Water. Similar to Bosca, we have the landscape conversion rebate. We also cost share and provide some additional funding for installing rain barrels and rain gardens. Milpitas also has the laundry to landscape gray water rebate. So you can get some money back for installing a gray water system that diverts some of the laundry water that you produce over to your garden, so you don't have to use potable water through your sprinkler system. And if this is of interest to you, you can find more information at savewatermilpitas.org. And here are some additional ways to save water in Milpitas, which would include signing up for the Water Smart customer portal, which is really great for tracking your water use and looking for potential leaks. If you don't live in Milpitas and you're interested in this, you may want to ask your water retailer if this is a program that's available to you. And we also really encourage everyone to report water waste when you see it happening. Some common forms of water waste include the use of broken irrigation systems or watering in the middle of the day when there's peak sunshine. So you can report that by calling our water conservation hotline or reporting it through the My Milpitas app. And lots of different agencies have very similar water waste programs as well. Kind of similar to a lot of the programs that I just mentioned, Valley Water offers rebates in Santa Clara County. You can find specific rebate rate information at watersavings.org, and you can apply at scvwd.dropletportal. Here are some resources to kind of give you a better idea of some sustainable landscaping practices. And some contact information if you were looking to apply for a rebate through Valley Water. And if you like tonight's program, there are lots of webinars and classes that are being held from now until the summertime. We do have quite a few coming up, and you can find a full schedule of the classes at Bosca's website, which is listed up there. And I'll also include a link to this in the follow-up email that I send you. And lastly, bayareagardening.org is a really great resource if you're just looking for more information on switching over to a water efficient landscape. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Frank.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Let's see. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about a lot of things tonight, all of them irrigation, or as the professionals call it, irritation. 70% of your problems in a landscape are irritation related. Either too much water or not enough water. Too much water, you've got a lot of disease problems that are happening in your landscape. Too little water, you're having a lot of disease problems happening in your landscape. So the key to a healthy garden is managing the irrigation system. First thing we're going to talk about is do not buy your material at big box. You want to go to where the contractors buy their material. You want commercial grade material. You want to install that irrigation system one time. And buying stuff at big box is not the way to go. So I highly recommend Site One. I've been doing business with these folks for many, many years, and they're a great company. The key to getting good material from these guys is don't go when the contractors are there. Contractors are there at 7:30 in the morning. If they see you there, they're going to ignore you. They don't want to do business with a homeowner in comparison to a contractor. This is all the irrigation houses in the Bay Area. If you get there at 9:30 when the contractors are gone, they'll do business with you. They'll help you. They'll walk you around the store. They'll pick out the good material. They'll show you what you need to do. They're very, very good about that. But if contractors are there, we're spending $10,000 to $20,000 a month buying irrigation materials. So we're going to get the donuts, we're going to get the coffee, and you're going to get ignored. So you want to go when the contractors are not there. Noon, contractors are there. buying material for the afternoon. The irrigation houses usually have food, pizza, hot dogs. If you show up at noon, they're going to ignore you. Go at 1:30. 4 o'clock, contractors are back there getting materials for tomorrow. Don't go. 5:30, 6 o'clock, just before they close. You're going to be able to get everything you need in the irrigation department and more. You can get drainage stuff, lighting, nursery stuff. Oh, I mean, this place is fabulous. Fertilizers, pesticides, whatever you need. So I would suggest that you mark Site 1 on your list and go down there and introduce yourself to the manager. If you're in the San Carlos area, Hiram is the manager of the San Carlos store. Don't know who's managing San Jose. There's 2 down in San Jose now, but I go to the San Carlos store. They're very good to work with. So don't buy your stuff at big box. You want commercial grade stuff. If you buy drip system at big box, it's not the same size as the commercial grade stuff that you can get at Site 1. It's smaller and it's not as well made. So I also want to highlight a company that has been around for many, many years. This is Hunter Irrigation. We're going to be talking about Hunter for a bit. Products, rotors, MP rotor, nozzles, spray bodies, hydro-wise. We're going to talk about hydro-wise. We're going to talk about controllers, sensors, valves, micro irrigation. We're not going to talk about golf. We're not going to talk about anything over here, but we are going to be talking about some of the materials that you can get with Hunter Irrigation. Hunter's been around for many, many years. It's family owned. And these guys know how to do it. They have the best material, in my opinion. Contractors hate callbacks. And so we want to install our material one time only, so we don't get a callback. There's nothing worse than something breaking on a system or not working correctly. And you get a call back from a client and you got to waste time to go up there and fix it. So that being said, I want to talk about nozzles in an irrigation system. So you can see here a number of different kinds of nozzles. We have the Pro Fixed, we have the Pro Adjustables, we have the standard MP rotators, 800s, strip nozzles, whatever. I want to focus on these Pro Adjustables and Pro Fixed. So when we talk about irrigation in our area, we're talking about what type of soil texture do you have? So when we talk about soil texture, it's a combination of sand, silt, and clay. So I'm going to pull up the soil triangle just so you can get an idea of what I am talking about. So this is what soil texture is all about. It's percent of sand, percent of clay, percent of silt. You need to know what your soil texture is. That is the first thing that you need to understand if you're doing an irrigation system. If you have clay, and a lot of the gardens in this area are clay, water percolates slower into a clay soil. And if you over apply water on clay, it runs off onto the sidewalk and doesn't do your garden any good. So the easiest way to figure out what you've got is take a canning jar or any type of jar and fill it halfway with soil. Add a tablespoon of detergent, any kind of detergent, and then fill it up with water and shake it for about 4 or 5 minutes and then set it on the counter. What's going to happen in the next 24 hours is that you're going to see the soil particulates of clay, silt, and sand form very distinct layers in this jar. On the bottom will be sand. On top of the sand will be silt, and on top of the silt will be clay. On top of the clay will be a lot of organic matter that's just kind of floating around. So what you do at that point is you take a tape measure and you measure the entire soil volume, not the soil and water volume, the soil volume. And that gives you 100% of whatever type of soil you have in your garden. Then you take that same tape measure and you measure the amount of sand. Divide the amount of soil into that. It gives you a percentage. Do the same with silt, and then the same with clay. And then you end up with a soil composition. Could be this, depending on where you live. But in all probability, somewhere, if you're living in somewhere in the Bay Area, you're going to get a high percentage or a pretty good percentage of clay. If you're over by Sand Hill Road, well, duh, what kind of soil is over on Sand Hill Road? It's sand. So that's the first thing you do when you begin to think about planting a garden and irrigating that garden. You need to know what kind of soil you have in terms of your soil texture. Very basic stuff, but very important. The soil texture will determine your irrigation schedule. It will determine your nutrient schedule, because water moves in sand faster than it moves in clay. And so we need to irrigate it differently. If you're applying nutrients to your garden, nutrients in sand will leach out much quicker because of the macropores in comparison to clay and silt. You also need to understand that if you're managing a garden, you need organic matter, and that organic matter should be a percentage of your entire sand, silt, and clay soil texture. Should be around 5% on the max. So when we look at the nozzles that Hunter offers, if you're in a clay soil area, you're going to be putting down water at a much slower rate. So this one is 0.4 inches per hour. On these Pro adjustables and these Pro fixes, these are at 1.75 inches per hour. They're almost 4 times the amount of water that you're applying with a standard MP rotator. So with the MP rotator, you're using more time on your irrigation system, but you're putting water down at a slower rate, which allows it to soak into the soil and get to the root systems on your plants. With these, if you've got a predominantly clay soil, the water does not soak, the water does not soak in on your clay. It has a tendency to run off. So these MP rotators are designed to put down water at a very slow rate. They come in various sizes. This is the MP 1000, think 10 feet. MP 2000, think 20 feet. MP 3000, think 30 feet. MP 3500, 35 feet. So if you read these, the MP 1000, 8 to 15 feet, I always just say go 10 feet. That's the easiest way to remember these things. And these put down water in a slower rate than a normal head. The threading configuration will fit both female and male thread, depending on what type of an irrigation nozzle or carrier that you have. So if you've got pop-ups and they happen to be Rainbird, well, Rainbird has a female thread, Toro has a male thread. So you can, and Hunter has the female thread also. So you can get the thread ratio in whatever way that you want. These are also adjustable. So this goes from 90 to 210 degrees. You get a small tool and you open this thing up to adjust it to what configuration that you want. So 90 degrees is a quarter head, 180 is a half head, and then 210 is almost a 3/4. It's about a 2/3 head. So you can get these nozzles in various configurations. You can see here the arc options, 45 to 105, 90 to 210, 210 to 270, and then a fixed 360. So you can get these nozzles in whatever you want. There's tons of videos here that Hunter provides. Hunter is very good about providing lots and lots of videos so that you can understand what's going on with your heads and make decisions about the types of heads that you want to put down or put in your system. The other good thing about this is that if we look at the specification sheets, you're going to find that on these particular types of nozzles, they are at their best at 40 PSI. That's where they work their best. Yes, they'll work at 30. Yes, they'll work at 55, but 40 PSI is your sweet spot on these nozzles. So if we look at the flow rates or the precipitation rates, they're at 0.41 at 40 PSI. And that's what you want if you're using working with clay soils. So don't let these charts frighten you. These are just a way to give you a scientific understanding of what type of nozzle that you're going to be putting into your irrigation system. If you happen to have standard nozzles and you want to immediately save money, you can remove those old nozzles and go to an MP rotator. And you're going to increase your efficiency on your irrigation system significantly because you're going to be applying water at a slower rate and it's able to soak into the soil at this slower rate. One of the things that I tell people is don't forget about the filters. These filters are there for a reason. All of these nozzles have a set screw, and the set point is the filter. I've seen people who buy these nozzles and remove the filter and throw them away, which is really dumb. This filter also keeps particulate matter from clogging the head and causing problems with the droplet size and the flow rate of the water on these precision manufactured heads. So don't throw away the filter. Every year in the springtime, pull the head off and clean your filters. If the filters are really dirty, replace them. Don't even bother cleaning them. Just replace them. They're about 16 cents a filter. It's well worth it to just get rid of those filters and put in new filters. So Hunter offers a number of different types of nozzles, but I am sold on the MP rotators. This has been the darling of the industry for the last 7 or 8 years. This is a great nozzle. It also comes in other configurations. It comes in a strip nozzle. It comes in a side strip. It comes in a left corner. So you can look at these specifications. There's left corner, right corner, side strip, side strip. And here is the patterns for the individual nozzles. So Hunter is giving you a lot of flexibility in terms of getting the right nozzles that are going to fit your garden. I highly recommend looking at the standard MP rotators or the MP rotators, the MP 1800s. These are really good nozzles also. 6 to 16 feet is their radius. Their matched precipitation rates, which is outstanding. Their radiuses are 90 to 210. These are great nozzles. So if you've got a standard irrigation system with high precipitation nozzles, I highly recommend that you go to the MP rotators. These are great nozzles, and they're going to save you money almost immediately. They're about $6 a piece. They're a little more expensive than a standard nozzle, but I believe that your water supplier will rebate you back. I think you will. Samantha, you guys rebate on the nozzles too?
Yeah, yes, we do.
I thought so. Yeah, most of the water companies do that. So this is a real quick fix for your irrigation system. It's also important that you change out or clean those filters at least once a year. If you've got, no matter how hard the water companies try, you're always going to get some particulate matter that's going to get by their filters. You're going to get rust. You're going to get small pieces of sand and pieces of clay. And over time, it builds up. I mean, the water companies do a great job filtering this stuff, but they can't get it all. So it's your responsibility to get those filters cleaned in there and use them. So Hunter is a excellent company for that. I want to spend a little bit of time on some of their sensors because most people don't understand the sensor situation. So you can get a number of different sensors for your irrigation system, depending on what type of controller that you have. I'm going to give you a recommendation for a good controller in just a minute, but I want to spend a little time with the different sensors. So this sensor is essentially a water station that lives in your garden. You always install these sensors on the south or west side. Don't put them on the north or east because they won't read right. So this is the solar sync sensor. This is a rain click sensor. The rain click sensor shuts your irrigation system down when it rains. It's going to, your ROI on this is about 2 rains. A solar sync sensor measures solar radiation and rain. And it downloads this information to a controller every day. Not every now and again. It does it every day. And it tells that controller to adjust itself up and down depending on whether it rained or what the temperature is. This is a great device because not only will it shut your system down when it rains, but it's also going to adjust up and down where you don't have to bother with it. It does it automatically. So we get these days sometimes in February where the temperature shoots up to 80. Well, if you've got a sensor out there, you don't have to worry so much about that because this sensor is going to tell that controller, it hit 80 today. We need to irrigate. It also, on my system, I'm going to show you my system in just a minute, is that every time it rains, my system does not come on for 5 days. So you can set that up with your controller. And different types of controllers will have different types of settings, but mine is 5 days. That seems to work really well with my system. And I'm in Foster City. So these controllers, and we're going to talk about controllers, are the heart of your system. You want a decent controller. The smart controllers are stupid. Garbage in, garbage out. So if you get a HydroWise, which this one is, this is a smart controller, remember that this thing is stupid. And you need to program it to fit your garden. It is Wi-Fi enabled. This is an important consideration because it's using weather data from around your particular area. So the weather station for my HydroWise, and I have a HydroWise, is 2 blocks from my house. And so essentially the data that I'm getting is fresh. It's geographically pertinent to my house. The HydroWise is one of the best systems out there. It's very well engineered, and it will give you a lot of information. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. It is Wi-Fi enabled. You can manage the irrigation system from anywhere using Wi-Fi from your smartphone, tablet, or the computer. It does save water. Mine's at about 88% right now. It takes about 3 to 6 months to dial this system into your garden. Don't just install this thing and think it's going to automatically give you results. There is a study that was done by a water supplier that gave out 150 of these controllers to various homeowners within their water district, and they tracked the water use, and they found that after giving them their controllers, these homes were watering at 160% above what they should have been. So they went back and they talked with them, and they said, well, it's a smart controller. I installed it and it's doing smart things, I think. And they were surprised when they found out that they were 160% up because they didn't calibrate it for their particular garden. So whether you get a HydroWise or a Ratio or whatever type of controller that you get, you do have to calibrate it for your particular garden. How do you do that? Well, you go out there with a soil probe or look at the plant material. Is it overwatering? Is it underwatering? Once it overwaters or underwaters, that's when you begin to track water use. And tracking water use is not that difficult. Let's see. Where is this? Let me stop share and share back up. All right. So if you go to clca.org, you can download irrigation schedulers. This is a powerful spreadsheet that the California Landscape Contractors Association will allow you to download. So you go to clca.org. In fact, let me show you where to find it. I think I have it queued up here. Yep, I do. So here's the California Landscape Contractors Association homepage. You go to the Certification Center, you go to the downloads under certified water. You go to downloads, and here's your irrigation scheduler. They'll allow you to download it. If not, call them. So I was able to download mine from them, and I use it all the time. So let's just see what this powerful deck has in it. Remember when we talked about soil texture? Sand, silt, and clay. Well, here's sand, sandy loam, clay loam, clay. This gives you the min-max run times for the individual stations that you're using based on the precipitation rates of your nozzles. So we talked about the MP rotators. Well, here they are, 0.45 inches per hour. If I've got a sandy soil and a mild slope, I'm going to be running this thing for 50 minutes at a max and 10 minutes at a min. That plant material is going to determine your min-max rates. If I'm running turf, then I'm going to be running it at a higher rate. If I'm running California natives, I'm going to be running it at a lower rate. Don't think that California natives do not need irrigation. They do. In the summertime, they need about 7 applications of water to maintain themselves. Certain of the natives do, absolutely. They're not 100% no need water. So you look at your soil type, determine whether you've got a sandy loam, a clay loam, or a straight clay, and you're going to be putting water on low and slow on these. In fact, you're going to be doing what we call a cycle and soak. I'll explain that in just a minute. So this spreadsheet gives you the min-max station run times. So many people guess their run times. You don't have to do that. There is a science around this. And the CLCA has taken that science and essentially given it to you. It gives you some sprinkler data. It gives you the performance charts for Rainbird, Hunter, Toro, Weathermatic, Buckner. It gives you everybody. So it's part of this spreadsheet. Station information. You got to do a little homework here. Am I running turf, ground cover, shrubs and trees, or natives? What's my soil type? Sandy loam all the way down to clay. What's my slope? What type of sprinkler do I have? Do I have a spray all the way down to drip? What's my exposure? Shade to full sun to reflected heat. So this helps you get a better understanding of the individual stations. You can see the stations here, one all the way up to 36, if you have that many stations. And you just sit there and plug data in there so that you understand what you've got, so that when you go back to the min-max run times, you've got information that's going to help you scientifically program that clock or controller. They even give you an irrigation scheduler, and it's based on reference evapotranspiration, or ET. So evapotranspiration refers to when you apply water, whether it's in rain or whether it's in an irrigation system, part of that water is going to evaporate. Part of it, the plants are going to take up and use, and then they're going to transpire that water when they're finished using it, and it comes out of the stomata of the particular leaves. The hotter it gets, the higher your reference ET is. So you can see July, our reference ET is 7.11 in the San Francisco Bay Area. So this reference ET helps you understand the characteristics of scheduling. It goes down to your shrubs and trees, no ground cover, with a crop coefficient of 0.5, all the way up to a crop coefficient of 0.8. 0.8 happens to be the crop coefficient for turf. So if I've got California natives, they're at 0.5. If I'm using MP rotators, and this is not the precip rate for no MP rotator, this happens to be, I'm guessing, a Rainbird. It's saying that if my precipitation rate is 1.2 inches per hour, then I need to water 23 minutes a week if I'm using turf, and I need to water twice a week in January. In July, you can see that this goes up significantly. If I change this to a 0.45, then you're going to see all of the numbers change. 60 minutes, 6 cycles a week in January. And this is just a way of understanding this for turf. We look down here for natives, shrubs and trees, no ground cover. It's saying 2 times a week, 26 minutes per a week, if your crop coefficient is 0.5. So this is how this particular chart works. You've got turf, shrubs and ground cover, shrubs and trees, no ground cover. You plug in your precip rate, you give it a station runtime. If I went 15 minutes at a 0.45, it's going to change the way it gives you information. So the programming chart is another very good device. Anytime you change your irrigation controller, write it down. So many people do not write this information down, and they have no clue what they're doing when it comes to these systems. So I'm going to show you a better one that I used when I had my company. And it's here. Here we go. So if the way all of this worked is that my crews had iPads. Let me bump this up some so you can see it a little better. Every time they changed the irrigation controller on a client's property, they put the date in here. So on 4/20, they changed it. 4/26, they came back and adjusted it. Here's the days that they were watering. Here's their programs for shrubs and others. Here's their veggies. Here's their program D. So those of you with IIIs, you might want to take a picture of this and build your own. But you can see on 10/18, it was at 100%. Station 4 was watering for 2 minutes. It was the front slope at the steps. No, it was the front lawn. It was a spray system. So they started moving it up based on what they felt was the right time. Lisa, you had a question?
All right, Lisa, you can unmute if you'd like to ask your question.
Yes, I see a blank page, controller programming chart.
Oh, well, that's not right. Let me find out what's going on here. I love Zoom. Let me stop share and find the correct chart. Let's see if I can go new share and see if it'll do it. Do you see anything different?
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
Ah, cool.
Thank you.
Yep. So you can look at the dates that are here. There's the date change. There's the station numbers right here. Here's the percentage that they were changing the controllers. Here's your lawns. They changed the lawns at 4/20, 4/26. And in here, you can see 10/18, 4/2 on 12, 4/26 on 12, 6/20 on 12. So my crews were in there changing the irrigation system based on what they saw on the landscape. And you need to write stuff down. So take a picture of this and build your own scheduling spreadsheet. There's also notes down here. On the 26th, there was a DSW adjust, 100%. 5/31, the DSW removed. So this is my manager, DSW, Dishay Wong. She removed the solar sink, added one more day to all the lawns, adjusted coverage for lawn sprinkler front and back, took navel orange tag to match new one for dead one, put in a new sensor, brought in Chris McNary of Hunter, who installed it for her, and they set it for region 2, 150% for 5 days. So you always put your notes in here. You want to scientifically manage your irrigation system. And this helps immensely because you've got data and it's on your computer and you can change your system according to a scientific method based on your previous watering schedule. If you don't write this stuff down, then you have no data to justify making the changes. If you see dry or wet, then you can look at the times for this stuff and change it. So they're watering the shrubs on Sunday for 30 minutes, Monday for 30 minutes, Tuesday for 45 minutes. And this is what they changed them to. I'm sorry, this is just your straight changes based on the dates. Here's your days that you water. One thing I would mention to you also is that if you have a gardening crew come in, you water after the crew has done their work, not before. So on the days that we were on this particular job site, we were there on Thursday, no watering on Thursday. The reason for that is if you have lawns, and there were lawns on this particular property, is that if you're mowing lawns and they're wet, it has a tendency to rip that blade instead of cut it. It also makes the material much heavier that the guys are having to carry out of there. So we watered after the maintenance day. So think about this. You're managing a landscape, you're cutting lawn, which causes it to go into stress because you're removing photosynthetic material. And so you want to bring it out of stress as soon as you can. And the best way to do that is to irrigate. So we watered after the maintenance crews were there. So it would come on that evening or that next morning to irrigate. So this sheet was how we managed all of our job sites. It was on an iPad. And so if, in this case, Dee was the one that was managing this one. She would make a change. Milo, I think, was the manager on this one. It doesn't have the crew name, but I think Milo was managing this one. Milo also had an iPad. If he came the same day that Dee had already changed this, and he saw, oh, wait, Dee already changed it. Okay, I'm good. I don't have to mess with this. Or he saw that Dee had not done any changes, then Milo would change the irrigation system, make the note in the iPad on this particular sheet. Dee shows up the next day and she goes, boy, it looks dry around here. And then she goes to her iPad and says, Milo changed it yesterday. Okay, we're good. So this is how this sheet is used. It gives you historical data on what your irrigation system is doing. It also says change the battery. A lot of these irrigation controllers have batteries in them. You need to know when it gets changed. And we used to change them on March 21st of every year. Changed all the batteries in all of our controllers. It also said that it was connected to a GFI in the garage. It tells you where that GFI is located. There is nothing worse than getting on a job site and you have a controller that's connected to a GFI. It's off because the GFI is tracked and you don't know where the GFI is. So you want to mark down a breaker or a GFI on how to shut that controller down. And if it is off, you can go to the breaker or the GFI and make sure that it is on. So this is a way that we managed our irrigation on our job sites. Let me stop sharing on this one. Come on, Zoom. Zoom is not being kind today. Let me go to here and see if I can get a new share. Here we go. Are you guys seeing CLCA?
Yes.
All right. So this is a real good resource, and they have lots of stuff here. So if you're doing MAWA, you can that's maximum allowed water allowances. If you're pulling permits for the city, you can do that with all of these. You have a water budget calculators, USDA soil moisture calculators. You've got all kinds of material in here. Sorry about that. All right. I want to show you my controller. I have a HydroWise. The Hunter HydroWise, in my opinion, is the best controller out there. The algorithms on this controller are well written in comparison to a number of the other controllers in the marketplace. This is my system. I have a patio drip system, front curb, front house, native, veggie, garden, garbage area, drip on the main patio, pop-ups on the patio, planters, drip at the hot tub area, and the drip on the harvester. I have a lot of drip systems at my house. I've been slowly converting everything over to drip, and we're going to talk about how to do that in just a minute. So these are my zones and my programs. And this is a different way to look at those same programs. I like this particular controller because it does a number of things for me. It does predictive watering. So if we're going to have rain, or we have wind above 27 miles an hour, or we have a 36% plus chance of rain, it's going to shut my controller down. It's called predictive watering. This also does a cycle and soak. I have a slope in this area, so it runs for 15 minutes. It shuts off for 20 minutes, and then it comes back on to finish the complete irrigation system time. I think I have 35 minutes total in this. So this one is another one, front curb. I have a spray system at the front curb. Again, predictive watering. 14-minute cycles, so it runs 3 times. It runs for 14 minutes, shuts off for 35, runs another 14 minutes to give me my entire system. So this system is a very powerful. The watering duration on this one is 20 minutes total, so 14 minutes it runs, 35 minutes off, and then 6 minutes to finish. It also gives me reports. So it gives me a schedule. It tells me when things are going to be watering. So today is what, 16th? 16th, the native garden, let's see, nothing watered on the 16th. The next time I get a watering cycle because it rained is probably going to be on Saturday. It also gives me weather data. So here's the weather data for my area. Today, it hit 73 degrees Fahrenheit max. Minimum was 51. So I can go to today and I can look at the weather data. Here's the 16th. It was partly cloudy. There was no rainfall, 71% humidity. The wind was at 11 miles per hour. And it was 65 degrees average temperature. Well, max temp was 69. So it gives me the weather station temperatures, which is 2 blocks from my house. It gives me rainfall amounts. So it watered on the 13th. And we got 0.57 of an inch on the 13th. That was my last watering day. We had a little bit of water on the 14th, but not much. So it gives me rain data. It gives me monthly evapotranspiration rates as well as rainfall. So I can click on this. It shows the rainfall, evapotranspiration, both. So it's taking the data that it gets from the weather station and changing my controller automatically. I can get monthly temperature and rainfall information. I can get straight ET. I can get whatever I want on this. I also have different reports that I can get on this. And I can also get electrical monitoring. Every time the irrigation system comes on, it reads the solenoid amperage. And it tells me how much current it was drawing. So it pulled 260 milliamps on this, which isn't much. It starts to go up. I know I've got a solenoid that's going out, or I've got a short in the wire. I've got some kind of a problem going on. That's why I like this particular electrical monitoring report. It's valuable to me. About once a week, I go in and just kind of look at this and see what's going on, make sure all of my solenoids are working right. I'm sitting in my office. I don't even have to go outside, open an irrigation controller box and stick my hand in there and play with the spiders. I don't have to do that. I can just sit in my office and do it. I can also get water savings with this. Average right now, I'm at 79.7% water saving with this controller. That's really important to me, because I'm trying to put the correct amount of water down, and this particular HydroWise controller is helping me do that. And it's doing it almost effortlessly. It's a matter of me going in and just checking to make sure everything is watering the way it should. So this is the HydroWise. It is mixed with drip and spray type nozzles. We've already talked about, and I have MP rotators at my house because I have slopes. I have a slope here at the front curve at the front of the house. There's a slope. And so I'm doing cycle and soak. I'm putting water down very slow so that it soaks in. If you look at this area here, the hot tub area, it is also a cycle and soak, even though it is not on a slope. I'm just putting water down slower. I have 7-minute cycles. It waters for 20 minutes, 7 minutes. It shuts off for 20, goes on for 7 more, shuts off for 20, waters the last 6 minutes to get the entire 20 minutes. So water is being applied very slow. So this is my HydroWise controller. I really like this controller. Trust me, I've had every controller in the world at my house because a lot of the agencies give them to me so I could test them. And by far and away, the HydroWise has beat everybody's controller all to heck. I know the water companies are giving away ratios. I can't tell you how many ratios I took out and installed HydroWise. The ratio has a tendency to overwater. It's just the algorithms. And it's not as robust as the HydroWise system for about the same amount of dollars. So that's why I like the HydroWise system. Nothing against the water companies. They're doing a great job giving this stuff out. I commend them for stepping up and giving away these controllers. And it is a adequate controller. It's not the best, but it does work. All right, I want to talk about drip systems, and I want to talk about a few things with drip systems. So when we talk about drip systems, the best system out there, in my opinion, is the Netafim system. It's been around for about 40 years now. If you go to the landscape and turf side of this, it gives you landscape irrigation solutions. You have a catalog here. We'll talk more about that in a minute. They have irrigation solutions for containers. This is their NetBow. This is a great little product for containers. The emitters are located inside of it. I think there's 6 on this particular one. And if you're watering container plantings, this is a very good way to irrigate containers. This also works very well on fruit trees. Citrus in particular works very well. So that is their net bow system. But the heart of this whole system is Techline. And that is a inline emitter system, which means that you have emitters spaced at various locations on this hose. We'll talk about that in just a minute. They give you a Techline calculator, which makes it a little easier to select flow rates, spacing, that sort of stuff. And I'll give you some information on that in just a minute. But I want you to look at this photograph here. The ground cover and all of these plants are all on a NetFM system. You can just see this hose right here as it's entering into this planter area. When they say precision irrigation, they mean precision irrigation. It gets the water right to the root zone with less evapotranspiration, and it is a lot less risky in terms of overwatering these systems, because a drip system works in gallons per hour, a spray head works in gallons per minute. And that's the big advantage of a drip system, especially the NetFM. When you're doing drip, you need filters. We talked about the particulate matter in our water. No matter how efficient the water companies are, some of that stuff is going to get through. So this is a 130 micron mesh filter. This is an amnion. My opinion, the amnion is the best filter out for a drip system. It needs to be cleaned about 4 times a year. And essentially what you do is you unscrew this cap, you pull the filter out, you take it into the house, run it under some water. This is what that all looks like. Filter comes out 4 times a year. Do it on the solstice, March 21st, June, let's see, March 21st, July 21st, September 21st, December 21st. Pull these filters out and clean them. They're going to fill up with particulate matter. You're going to be surprised how much junk gets caught in these systems. These, if you don't have a good, decent filter, it will clog your irrigation lines on drip. If you read this is Amnion's website. Filtration to prevent emitter clogging is essential for uniform water distribution. It is vital to protecting your investment, ensuring high production quality and profitable yield. They mean this. Amnion is serious about their filters. So one of the most common irrigation systems challenge is preventing emitters clogged by the various organic and inorganic material that is picked up in the water. So Amnion is very serious about this stuff. Okay, let's see, NetFM. This is where I want to go. So NetFM, there we go. This is what I want. Yeah. I want to go to drip lines. So the Techline CV is the one that most of us use in the landscape. You can modify an existing spray system to a drip system quite easily. You go to all of your pop-ups or all of your risers and eliminate all but one. Establish that as your point of connection. Put a pressure reducer in there, and we'll talk about pressure reducers in just a minute, and a filter, and then connect drip line to it and run drip line all day long. So this is Techline CV, and it comes in various emitter flow rates, 0.42, 0.61, 0.92. Remember when I talked to you about doing a soil texture test? Your emitter choices are going to depend on whether you have clay or sand. If you've got sandy soil, you're going to be running at a higher rate. Gallon per hour is going to be at 0.92. If you're down in clay, you're going to be at 0.42. Your emitter spacing, 12 to 18 inches. Actually, there's another one that I want to talk about. Yep, here it is. And there's all types of information about it. There's a product sheet on TechLine. It tells you about the advantages. It is pressure compensating. So if you've got a slope, no problem. The amount of water at the top of the slope is going to be the same as the amount of water at the bottom of the slope. It does have a self-flushing emitter. And that emitter, let's see, it's here somewhere. Looks like this. So the water comes through this hose, and there are a series of vanes here, which causes the water to spin, which kicks the particulate matter that got through the filter to the outside and takes it down to the end of this line. So the days that you're cleaning these amide drip filters, you're also going to remove the end stops on your drip system and run the water for a minute to clear out all the particulate matter that is built up inside of your drip hoses. So you've got a filter that's going to keep that water from clogging your filters or clogging your emitters. And then you've got a specific type of emitter that is engineered to kick that material to the outside. This is one of the reasons I love Netafim. Now, when we talk about Netafim, it comes in two different sizes. Let's see. Here we go. It comes in 12 millimeter and 17 mil. Don't get 12. Buy 17. Get 17 mil because it works so much better. So here's 17 mil drip line. It tells you all about the emitters, pressure compensating, self-flushing, emitter with anti-siphon, self-contained, UV resistant tubing so it can lay on the surface. You don't have to bury this stuff. It's easy to install. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to see the hose. Well, I don't either. So you lay the hose on the surface around your plant material, and then you put mulch on top of that. And it will manage your irrigation easily enough. You can get coil lengths of 100 feet, 250 feet, 500 feet, and 1,000. If you're doing your house, buy 1,000. They say the recommendation filtration rate is 120, or the amide is at 150. You're golden. So this is a great product. It's easy to install. Don't go engineer on me on this now. There is certain ways that you install this, but you don't have to be total engineer about this. You can lay it out like this, and people always say, well, what's the difference between, or what's the distance between these hoses? The most efficient, in my opinion, is 14 inches. Netafim says 17, I think 17.9. When I had my company, we always installed at 14 inches. We found that to be the most efficient for ground covers, and believe it or not, under turf. So you don't have to do this. You can do this, and it'll work. You can do this, and this is mimicking a tree. You can do all types of configurations. Here's one on a slope. Here's another one on a slope. So they're doing a manifold here and then just running wire all over the place. Here's another nice installation on a slight slope. Turn the water on. You can actually see where the water is going. Someone always says, well, can I plug these emitters? Yeah, you can. You can buy a little part that flips that attaches to the hose that shuts that emitter off. Or you can take a piece of tape and tape it closed. There's another configuration. This is for a market garden. There's someone installing. There's another configuration. So you can be creative as to how you do that. You can do loops. So I can do a loop around my citrus. Let's see if I can find the loop. Yeah. So here's an interesting configuration, but I'm not, oh, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Here's a loop system. So this is really cool because as the root system extends out, you can add more irrigation as this tree gets bigger. So you can see this one's a 3-loop. And they didn't even use connectors. They just looped it around, 1, 2, 3 times. This one, connectors, as this one does. So when you buy this Netafim, you also get Tinker Toys. You get all kinds of connectors. You can get tees. You can get elbows. You get all kinds of drip line components. You get low volume control kits. So I want to address this. When we're talking about these valves, if you use a regular valve, it's not an issue of it going on, it's an issue of it going off. You need a certain amount of flow rate on the valve to shut it off. And so you want to get a low volume control zone kit. They'll sell you the valve, they'll sell you their filter, and they'll sell you a pressure reducer. It's all in a kit. So it's a no-brainer. So you can read about these low volume zone kits, tons of information. It's compatible with all two-wire controllers. Hunter also has, I want to go back to products, and I want to go to their valves. So Hunter also has a drip control zone kit. You buy all of this. You get the pressure reducer, you get the filter, you get the valve. You want valves that go in the ground. Valves that go above ground are garbage. UV light has a tendency to break them down. You want these things in the ground so that UV light can't get to them. And you want these specific drip control zone kits for your system. So Netafim and Hunter and any combination of this stuff with Amiot filters, whatever you're going to get, you can buy this stuff at Site One. They have all of the irrigation material, hoses, fittings, and nozzles, all kinds of cool stuff. If you like hardware stores, you're going to love Site One because it's all inclusive. They're trying to be the one-stop shop for landscape contractors. And so they have all the fittings that you're going to need, PVC, all the way down to your drip stuff. You got brass, you got all kinds of cool things here. So Site One is a great resource for buying this particular material. And like I said, go into Site One when the contractors are there, and the folks behind the counter will be more than happy to work with you to get what you actually need for your system. They're very helpful and they're very knowledgeable. So use these as a resource. Those of you who have been to big box know that it is almost impossible to get somebody to help you. And you're trusting their expertise. Whereas if you go to where the contractors are going, we rely on these guys for their expertise. Sometimes we just don't know a new product, and these guys can help with new product information. They're just a valuable resource. So take advantage of this particular resource. So we've talked about a lot of things tonight. We talked about various components. I talked about Hunter. I talked about Site 1. I talked about Amiad, their drip filters. We talked about the HydroWise systems. We talked about Netafim, by far and away the best. And they do have a site here, solution for homeowners. They've got videos. They've got configurations. You've got a flagstone path. No problem. We can weed that hose in and amongst that flagstone path. This is a great resource. They talk about drip versus rotors, converting a spray bed to a drip system. Tons of information here. So take advantage of this stuff. Fact versus fiction, English and Spanish, the right solution for your yard. Just tons of information. So take advantage of these guys and get good material and install it one time. You don't want to install your irrigation system a bunch of times. Anybody have any questions? Don't all speak at once.
Right. So I will be sending out all of those resources that Frank went over in a follow-up email, probably about a week from now or whenever the recording is ready. And like I had mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or enter them into the Q&A. I see a question or a raised hand from Nav, so I'm going to allow you to speak.
Hey, Nav.
So my question is, how did you decide that the drip system is better or the shower system? I'm sorry, what is that called? Because I'm looking to do in a flatter area, which is mainly the flower beds. So I can't decide which one would be better for this kind of, and the soil is little, I would say loamy, yeah, not sand.
Yeah, I would definitely go with a Netafim system, space it 14 inches apart. You're going to adequately water. It's all about time. So if you see the irrigation system or your plants are dry, kick the time up. But if you've got that 14-inch, you can calibrate from there. As I was saying, we want a scientific way to do this, and 14-inch was the way we did it. And then we could calibrate it using time. So if I saw that the bed was dry, I'd kick it up another 10 minutes. And that's how we did it. It's really simple. You're going to be amazed how simple this is once you install it in your yard. You're going to say, wow, why didn't I do this 10 years ago?
Okay, got it. And why you think the other system is not good as compared to Netafim?
Netafim's been doing it for 40 years, and they started out growing vegetables in the desert. And so they've perfected this system. Hunter just got into the inline emitter. That Netafim emitter is patented, and that is the best inline emitter on the market by far and away. The technology is there, and they've got a proven track record. I like Hunter products. I don't use their drip, and don't tell the Hunter rep that I said that, because they've been very good to me. I just like the Netafim system. It is so easy to install, and it's easy to maintain. Yeah, it's just a great system.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Very informative.
I hope you learned a few things tonight.
Yes, I did. Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions, concerns, problems, issues?
There's a question in the Q&A from Lisa. Can you recommend irrigation companies that install irrigation systems?
Yes, again, go to the California Landscape Contractors Association. They have a button up there that says "Find my contractor," and you can put in filters saying you want somebody to install irrigation. Put in your area, and they'll recommend contractors in your particular area. Again, don't go to big box and pick up people over at big box to install your irrigation system. Your efficiency is going to be significantly less, and you're going to be replacing that system in a couple of years. Awful quiet out there. Anything
Sorry,
else?
Nav, did you have another question, or was your hand still raised from the first one?
Sorry, I think I unraise it. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
All righty.
Question in the chat from Lisa. What is the relationship between Netafim and Techline?
Same. Techline just happens to be one of their products. Techline CV is a Netafim product. They own the patent on it, and it's the best drip system out there, 17 mil. And work with your water company on this. I know, Samantha, you guys do rebates for converting spray to drip, I think, don't you?
Yes, we do, and I believe it's for like the difference between like the irrigation equipment rebate, which would be just to like retrofit or put in like nozzles or spray bodies. Those are an itemized rebate, and then for switching from spray to drip, that's actually an area-based rebate. So you would just measure out the area that you intend to convert over, and then you get a it'd be that area that you measure times the rebate rate.
Yep. And do your paperwork first with your water company before you do anything. Contact the water company, get your paperwork in. They'll send a water conservation specialist out to look at your project. Verify that you're actually removing stuff and doing new stuff, and then you'll get your rebate. Nav, you got another question there?
Yes. So I was just trying to understand what is the advantages of a spray versus drip, one over the other, when people decide that.
I would go with drip every time. I'm converting my entire property over to drip. I had all spray heads at one time, and I'm slowly but surely removing them. In fact, I was out there today removing my spray heads, and I didn't contact my water company. I'm a bad boy there. Sorry. And I'm converting to drip. It's just so much more efficient.
Is this because the water? Sorry, is the water difference? It's the plants are getting water because of that?
Well, it doesn't evaporate in the same way that drip. When you spray water and there's sunshine, it is evaporating even before it hits the ground. And so over a year's time, you're losing a lot of water to evaporation. Whereas on a drip system, especially if you have mulch on top of it, you're not losing water. It's not evaporating.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Anytime, you know where to find me. Lisa, I see you got a question?
Yes, regarding maintenance of this drip irrigation system.
4 times a year, I clean the filters, I pull the end caps off, and I blow the lines. That's about it. Every now and again, I'll shovel through the hose, and I just fix it. It's real easy to fix.
How long? So how long do they last? Do they last a decade, 2 decades?
I've had some of my Netafim in for 15 years now, and I've never had a problem with it. So yeah, I don't know what Netafim says in terms of longevity, but I know my system's been in for 15 years, and it's still running just fine.
Thank you.
Yep. And it's cheaper than a spray system. Way cheaper, a lot less labor to install it. It's just easy. Anybody could do it. And a little tip, probably shouldn't say this over the air because you guys are recording this. Get a tube of KY jelly.
KY jelly.
Yeah, because the emitter or the connectors are hard to put on. You put a little
Yes.
tab of KY jelly on there. It's water soluble. Boop, goes right on.
Okay.
So I learned that from one of my students. She showed up, we were doing an irrigation system. Her name is Katie, and she showed up with 2 tubes of KY jelly, and I'm kind of going, Katie? And that's how I learned that little trick. Students are the best teachers, I'm telling you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Two more minutes. If
Yep.
that.
Last minute questions, and then Frank, is it okay to include your contact information in the follow-up in case anyone has specific questions for you?
I answer emails.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will include that as well.
All right.
Cool. If there are no other questions, we can end here 2 minutes before the end time.
Perfect.
Again, I will send out a follow-up in about a week or so. If you have any questions, feel free to respond back to that. Frank's contact information will also be included there, and then this recording will be included in the follow-up as well.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Very
Frank.
informative.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.